Today we've got a special guest, our very own County Clerk, Mark. Introduce her to everybody.
Hey everyone, with us today is me, County Clerk Susan Masterson. She's here to discuss the currently ongoing election,
No excuse.
election, and welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, so you can go vote today right now, right?
Yes, that's correct.
So there's no excuses, correct?
Right.
All right, talking to the there.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Any eligible voter can vote at the fairgrounds in the Home and Garden Building today.
Doesn't matter which precinct you're in either.
Right,
Everybody
right.
goes there. Okay.
Yeah. From 8 to 4. So today till 4, and then tomorrow is 8 to 4 also.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Now, I've got the ballots. You got the Democratic ticket and then the Republican Party ticket. Obviously, the President of the United States is on, and for the Democratic ticket, the Republican Party ticket is obviously the presidential ballot is on. There's more than one name on each of these, so you kind of have to take your time to look at them and make sure that you pick because some of these people aren't even in the race anymore. Isn't that correct?
Well, this is what I have found. This came up this week, actually. The names on the ballot, they may have publicly withdrawn, but they have not officially withdrawn from the Secretary of State's office.
That happens quite a bit, where they,
It's not going to sink the work in.
It's a lot of hassle for them to go through that whole process. So it's better. So they concede basically, and so they won't be taking on. They won't be accepting the job if we give it to them anyway. But I think at this point it's a pretty much a foregone conclusion on the Republican side.
Yeah, it is, but I think it's important. It's important to note, though, that if the Commonwealth of Kentucky picks Ron DeSantis, when we go forward as delegates at the convention, you know what I mean? That's supposed to influence our pathway for the national convention.
It is. I mean, if Ron DeSantis were to somehow win Kentucky,
sure,
then
in the
Kentucky's delegates would vote for Ron DeSantis at the Republican National Convention. However, that's I mean, it's not going to happen.
No, I got it. Yeah, I got it. But hypothetically, how it's supposed to work, you would think that you should clear your names. That's right.
Yeah.
Anyway, but you got the state Senate seat on the Republican. That's the only one that has like a competition, except for the 2nd Congressional District for Congress. That's running in a Democratic race against, which would be the general election against Brett Guthrie. So the Democrats have two competing, Hank Linderman and William Dakota Compton on the Democratic ticket. So for our Democratic voters, you do have a vote, skin in the game in your primary to decide who it is that you want to go up against Brett Guthrie in the general election.
Correct.
Yep. So. Can I ask you a question, Susan? And I think I know the answer to this, but how do you determine who goes first on the
ballot? On the
ballot, as far as is this done for us at
it's on a state level?
Or?
Yeah. These types of races would be on state level. Like in the county races, we actually draw
names
for the position. Yeah. But yeah, the state.
So if it's more than one county, it's done. I mean, I think like the state senator is the 5th senatorial district, which is what 5? I think it's 5 counties. I think is in that district. And so how did that get determined? Was that at the state level? Okay.
Yeah. Everything for this one was all state level. The only time I think we have any choice in the position is the county races.
Yeah. I remember years ago
when we draw.
You had to go in and draw. If there's more than one.
Right.
And the same for. It would be the same even the general election, right? For county level, for the county is now on the state level. It has something to do with who is the president or who is the governor or something like that, or how they do that, right? So the other party gets the headline, I guess.
Yeah. Right.
So what? How? So right now we're voting at the fairgrounds in the the Home and Garden building, right?
Right.
So it's where
Yes.
it's at. So for those that may not be familiar, it's where the nice restrooms are at the fairgrounds,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That same building,
Right.
And so,
And we have signs out.
do we have numbers? How many people voted yesterday? Do you
It
know
was roughly, I think it was roughly around 100.
100 people
Yeah.
came in
Wow.
yesterday.
Yeah,
So it's
maybe
pretty-
a little more, a little less.
Good mix between both parties.
Right. Oh, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't looked
Yeah.
at that.
Yeah, it's I mean, it'll give that detail, but it's there's a lot of people that get worried that gives some sort of an advantage, but I don't see how that can give an advantage if you just know that how many people have voted early or what have you, because it doesn't. You don't know those results until election night, right?
right.
So
Yeah. Right.
So if can you kind of maybe walk through? Can you kind of walk us through that process of, because a lot of people get worried about, they get worried about the mail-in ballots because we still have mail-in ballots. We've always had mail-in ballots, and then the early voting, and how that process works. Can you just kind of walk us through that a little bit so that people know, you can be a little bit more familiar with it?
As far as like the processing of it.
Yeah, I mean,
and,
the timing and
Right.
things. So what
Yeah.
what happens? Because you set the machines out yesterday.
Right.
They're at the location.
Right.
Just kind of take us through what happens on a day to day, or and when do those actually get counted? How do you all do that?
We like the early voting machines will, like, each night they suspend the polls until actually they'll still suspend them tomorrow night when it's done, and then it's locked up. They're sealed and brought back to our election building, and then the Board of Elections will count those on election night.
And they're locked up and
Yeah.
every night.
Yes.
Yeah. So
yes.
each night it's brought back to the secure building.
No. It's locked up there at the.
At there.
Yeah.
So, but you lock
yeah.
it and tag it and
Yes.
all that stuff. So you know it's
Everything's-
suspended out, right?
Right. And then tomorrow, well, actually, they'll bring them back after tomorrow. And then, like I said, they'll be sealed. And then the board will break the seal and count those votes election night.
Okay.
Yeah. And same with absentee, like the in-office was the same. We had the in-office voting last week.
Right.
So the board counts those on election night. So we power those machines back up, get the votes, print the tapes,
Right.
get the votes, and then we,
Just like you do on election night, it's
Right.
just another machine that's brought in, that's
Yes.
in the process.
yes,
So when you have so the absentee ballots, that the absentee in-person absentee is what we call it when you have an excuse, like you're going to
Right.
be working an election day. You're going to be out of town for
yeah.
whatever reason,
Right.
And that's when you have to sign the official affidavit that says, hey,
application.
I'm not going to be here,
Right.
And then you're able to go cast your vote.
right,
So that's one machine that's at your office.
yes.
And then there's another machine that's, or maybe one or two machines that are at the. How many machines are out at the fairgrounds right now?
Scanners, 2.
Two scanners. So, okay.
Yes.
Because I remember last time last year you had mentioned that you wanted to make sure you had multiple scanners at
Yes,
each location.
there will be more than one at every location.
Right. In case one goes
Yeah,
down, that's
yeah,
right.
Yeah, but they are using 2 out there right now.
Good. Good.
yeah.
And so they'll have 2, and then those will be brought in, but they won't be counted or anything until election night.
Right, the
They'll
board
be
will count.
suspended. It'll go back to the election board, to the building in the back. They'll power it up, break the seal, power it up.
Yeah.
And then get those totals.
Right.
Now, what happens to the ballots that are in there? I mean, they
They
stay in the machine
Yes,
until
the time we have like a I forgot how many days it is after 60 days after. I'd have to look at the schedule, but we can't take them out until the board.
Right, and
until
that's in case there's a recount or
Yeah.
anything like that.
Right,
Way
they stay
everything
locked.
stays as it
Yes.
was on election day.
yes,
in
locked
case it's-
up under camera the whole time. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I heard that we were audited.
Yes.
Recently.
Yes,
How
we
did
were.
that go?
It was great.
So what did they do in that process when they audited? Did they?
So the Attorney General's office, they randomly select 12 counties after every election to be audited. So I was selected this past general election, and I had to send in all my reports, any records that I had of the election, my poll workers' records, like the sheriff's reports that they fill out, of any incidents.
And you're not talking about the county sheriff for the public.
No,
That's those are the people that are appointed as sheriff at the voting precinct.
Sheriffs,
Now, the county sheriff is the sheriff of the election board.
100%. Yes, he is. But he appoints sheriffs at each precinct.
It's one of the positions. There's clerk, there's clerk, sheriff, and judge, and then one from each party.
Yep. And the interesting role of the sheriff is especially, not to take us off course, but that sheriff, once the clock strikes, 6, if you're not in line, that sheriff is required to stand next to the last person at the clock, and there are no more cuts or anything else. That is it. So early voting there's no excuse. Yeah. No excuse. But anyway, go ahead. So you got your inspection.
Yes.
Yeah. So you had the audit,
so then I had to submit all my reports. They contacted me. We talked a little bit on the phone. The investigator from the Attorney General's office, and then so I mailed in a huge packet of all mine, everything I had, and then I didn't hear anything from them for. This was right after the general, so I was starting to think, okay, no news is good news. And then, then a couple weeks ago, the lady from the Attorney General's office personally came in and gave me the packet at the office and told me that here's your results from your audit. And I was like, I was wondering if I was going to hear anything. And she said everything's good. You're good to go. And
now, did they actually come and audit any machines?
No.
No. That's not part of the audit process right now?
Not right now. So, but there's talk of it that they will.
I would say, would you advocate for that?
Yeah, I would have no problem with that.
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who worry about it.
Right.
And if we would just randomly audit a machine, maybe one machine or two machines from each county, just randomly pick one and do it.
And some do.
I would think that the machine, because the ballots in the box, so the ballots that are in the box would have to match the count that the machine gave. I would assume that would be the audit process. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. So that would be the idea is as you're pulling the ballots, you could, like you said, it's like a 30 or 60-day window that you have to, the ballots get pulled out. Now, what happens to those ballots they stay?
We keep them still.
You keep them? Is it like a 7-year period or something like that, or 10 years?
No, it's may just be 2 years.
2 years? Yeah. Okay. So it's not. So you don't have you don't have a pile of ballots sitting out back somewhere from like 10 years ago.
No.
But
some I think there are some counties that have done their own audit of the ballots just for that, but I wouldn't want to do every machine. That would be pretty time consuming. But like you said, pick a random precinct here or there or
if
whatever.
You put all your machines and then and do it by machine and say, hey, we're going to pick out 3 machines and let's audit those so that you have the ballots. Yeah. So when you go to pull the ballots out, you can have somebody hand count those ballots, do it, run them back through the machine a second time, and then and then compare those to the original results. Yeah. Now, I don't know that you would always get 100%, and being statistically speaking, you can't advocate for 100% accuracy every time, but because you may have something that was counted based on you may have the machine may count something and then
the human eye may see it differently.
Human eye may see it differently, or a mark or something like that. But what we're looking for is a significant difference in those numbers. And there is a statistical formula for calculating what is statistically significant.
Yeah. Right.
And in an election,
significant.
You would want to have less than one. In my opinion, on an election or something like that, you would want to have less than 1% of an error factor.
Difference,
to be able to say, we're in good shape. So.
Hey, so I tell you what, let's take a pause right
Guided by a strong work ethic, devoted to family, and a state senator getting things done. Steve Meredith, he's working for us. A no-nonsense conservative, Steve cuts through the bull in Frankfurt. 100% pro-life and pro-Second Amendment, Steve Meredith is protecting our values. He's fighting inflation by cutting income taxes, putting money back in our pocket. And Steve supports our veterans. He has their back in Frankfurt. Believe in Steve. Vote Steve Meredith for State Senate.
This is Thomas Ballinger. I humbly ask for your vote May 21st as your next Kentucky State Senator. I will work tirelessly towards securing funding for the 5th District public utilities and roads. Without strong utilities, corporations will not invest in our communities. I am pro-Second Amendment, no red flags. I will fight to protect and improve the teachers' pay and retirement and hold the Department of Education to a higher standard with legislation. Our children are our future. As a veteran, I will fight for better VA benefits and stronger legislation to protect us. I'm against abortion with no exceptions. If elected senator, I will provide legislation that makes sense. I'm for less regulation, less government control, and more freedom for the citizens of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. As your next senator, I will represent you, not the special interest groups. It will be an honor to represent you in Frankfurt. This is Thomas Ballinger. I approve this message.
Paid for by Thomas Ballinger for Senate.
Your vote matters. Go to the polls May 21st.
Guided by a strong work ethic, devoted to family, and a state senator getting things done. Steve Meredith, he's working for us. A no-nonsense conservative, Steve cuts through the bull in Frankfurt. 100% pro-life and pro-Second Amendment, Steve Meredith is protecting our values. He's fighting inflation by cutting income taxes, putting money back in our pocket. And Steve supports our veterans. He has their back in Frankfurt. Believe in Steve. Vote Steve Meredith for State Senate.
And we are back. I hope everybody is enjoying their day. We are getting some information today. We've got our guest in the audience, and that is Susan Meredith, the county clerk.
Masterson.
Masterson. I'm sorry. I got Steve Meredith on the brain, and I'm trying to switch buttons.
I'll keep you straight.
Thank
I'll
you.
keep you straight.
But Mark, we're back in studio, and we've got her here to tell us a little bit about where we can go to vote.
Yeah, so let's go through the let people know where they can go to vote. Starting today and then through Tuesday.
Okay, so today and tomorrow, today till 4 o'clock, tomorrow 8 to 4, at the Home and Garden Building at the Meade County Fairgrounds. That's early voting, no excuse. Any precinct, any eligible voter in any precinct can vote there. And then Tuesday, May 21st, Election Day, we have new this year. I wanted to talk about that was the high school has always, they've been a voting center for a while now. I've added Stewart Pepper Middle School as a voting center. So any eligible voter can go to, and also Flaherty, sorry. The high school, Stewart Pepper Middle, and Flaherty are voting centers. So anybody from any precinct can go to those locations.
So if it was your traditional location,
you can still go
precinct,
there.
You
right.
still go you still go there. But if somebody that helps, the voting centers, I know those sometimes are a little bit controversial, but it's not like we have voting centers and everybody is corralled into that voting center.
Right.
You still have
Painville.
Right.
Painville
Akron
Elementary School is that would be, they're still specific to only like Wolf Creek, Concordia, Battletown, and Painville at the Painville Elementary School. Akron Elementary School is specific to only Akron, Buck Grove, and Guston precincts. And then Muldrow City Hall is Muldrow precinct only.
Right.
But yeah, they have the option though, and I thought Flaherty to me would be a good voting center, especially to give more opportunity and convenience for people, maybe say going to work in E-Town, passing through, and they were like in a hurry, and they're like, okay, there's Flaherty, I can run in there, or maybe they have doctor appointments in E-Town, Hardin County. Hardin County is so close, and we have so much travel.
I mean, think about like this:
there.
how many people have gone into a polling location thinking that this is where they vote, because maybe they voted there, for years, and then maybe they moved. They thought, well, I didn't move that far, so I'm still in the same. No,
Yeah.
and then they only to find out, oh no, you don't
Right.
vote here anymore.
Yeah.
But now, if you're going to a voting center, it doesn't matter,
Right.
Because whatever as long as you, because you have to scan, you still have to use your ID. You have to provide your ID. The ID then brings up your
Ballot
ballot, and now you're printing the ballots, right? You're printing the blanks.
We do have prints at all the voting centers and at Ekron and at early voting, of course. But Muldrow and Painville don't have the print on demand yet.
Okay.
I'm hoping to hopefully get a little bit
Is
more.
it just
for
getting more
that.
machines?
Yeah,
And you have to
and we're kind of, this is our first trial run with it, so we're kind of getting the feel of.
It's going to be a little different.
Yeah,
Hopefully, it's going to be better though.
It is. I went to early voting and watched this. That was the first we got to use them, and they love it.
Yeah.
The judges love it.
I didn't go
yeah.
over there, but I told Kathy, my wife, for those who, I'm sure the people who watch us probably know who Kathy is, but
Yeah.
Anyway, so because Kathy is a poll
they
worker.
do now.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
Kathy is a poll worker as well, so she
Yeah.
is. But she was telling me about the new machines when she came back
Yeah.
from training, and I said, "No, I should go over and watch. Just go over early voting and observe because I'd like to see how it works.
Yeah.
Because I'm interested in that. Because there were, I don't know how many we had here, but I know that other counties had some problems with it, and where they went to a voting center and they got the wrong ballot.
From the print on demand or the yes.
From the ones that were
Yes.
tore off because
Yes.
the worker
Right.
misinterpreted where
yeah.
they had to go.
Yes.
And the print on demand is intended to fix that.
Yes,
Because
there's-
I'm going to scan, I'm going to get it's going to give me a printout of my precinct,
Right.
and that's going to then be scanned to give me my ballot.
Right.
So there's very little chance that you're going to get that mixed up.
Right. Very little human error would be.
Right.
I mean, it would almost be impossible, really.
Now there are people out there right now that are advocating for like just doing hand counts on everything because they don't trust the machines, and I think that if we could find a way. And maybe we need to produce a video or something of this one time. Maybe go through the process, so that and I know it's very difficult because you don't want to do that with live information because people have privacy.
Right.
But it'd be nice if we could do something that would set people at ease about what the process is. Like there's a lot of people who say, well, the machines are connected to the internet. Well, that's not true. The tabulators are not. The scanners are not connected to the internet.
Absolutely not. No.
That is all done. It's localized, and then the tabulation is taken and added together from the cards and things.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
The only thing that is connected is the voter ID piece where
The e-poll book.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's a secure network though through the state.
But
So,
still,
yeah.
I mean, what is that e-poll
Yeah.
book doing? All it's doing is saying that
Right.
I've already voted. So if I went to another voting center somewhere else, it
It's-
won't let me vote again.
Right. And it doesn't tell you how. It doesn't say how you voted or
Nothing, because it's
like that.
completely
just-
isolated
Right.
between the two pieces.
Right.
Actually, three pieces now when you figure the ballot's getting printed. So
Right.
all three pieces are isolated from one
Correct.
another. This is just telling me what ballot to get. I get my ballot. Now I take it over here.
Yeah.
Nothing connects those three pieces together.
Right. Correct.
So I think that it's important that we get to that. But anyway, so you said
Yeah.
Ekron Elementary is with Ekron, Buck Grove, and Guston precincts only. Painville is Wolf Creek, Concordia, Battletown, and Painville precincts only. So those are the traditional.
Right.
Muldrow City Hall, again, Muldrow precinct only. So that's, again, the traditional location. And then the others are traditional locations, but they're
Awesome.
voting centers now that can so if you work in Brandenburg, and you can't, and you don't want to, you can't get out to Painville in time or whatever, you can vote at lunchtime or whatever at a voting center, whether it's the high school or the middle school. But if you still want to go to your traditional voting location, that was the middle school, then you go to the middle school. 'Cause the middle school is where we've always voted. Well, at least for the
Right.
last, probably 20 years or something like that.
Well, we shut it. It was shut down for a little bit when they had their remodel.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and then I brought it back last year. Yeah.
Yeah, well, then there was COVID. They had the remodel.
Yeah, there was all kinds of little
things.
yeah.
But before that,
Yeah.
we voted because I voted. I was in the Rock Haven precinct at one time growing up, And we voted over at Bethel Methodist Church
Oh, yeah,
for a
that's
long
a long time ago.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
So I mean, and I remember
Yeah.
that had to do with making sure people had access, right? Because so the schools and stuff were
Yeah.
brought in
Right.
to the picture, and that's why
Yeah.
around here anyway, it's a holiday for students because
Yeah,
You-
they get
they
the,
have- they
it's
get the
election
day
day.
off.
We get
Yeah.
to be off.
So
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit. So the voting centers, you have the new scanners, or I'm sorry, the new printers for the ballots, and let's talk a little bit about the process of like voter. A little bit about how the.
You're trying to describe how the voter. What's the voter's process when they walk in the door to the
Yeah.
the
Okay.
time they
Yeah,
get to the
thank
end
you.
state? So
Okay.
walk
Thank you,
us
Steve.
through my
Okay.
my voter experience.
Okay, so you're going to walk in and be greeted by some very appreciated poll workers, very friendly, some of the best people.
She's not just saying that because my wife's a poll. Telling you.
I do have some awesome poll workers, and I appreciate them all so much. And for them to, want to serve in that capacity.
It's not like they're getting rich off of that day.
No,
Yeah.
no.
It is paid, but it's a paid volunteer, really.
Yeah. So anyway, you'll be greeted by your clerk, who is sitting there with the e-poll book. You'll present your driver's license. They scan your driver's license. It pulls you up in the e-poll book. Let's say so you may have requested an absentee ballot, possibly, and then decided not to vote absentee. It's going to tell that poll worker that, okay, well, you requested absentee ballot, so they're going to call the clerk's office, and they would have to bring their ballot to us so that they could vote in person. That's
So-
one little scenario. But anyway, for the most part, most people are going to walk in.
But see, that stops the process.
Right. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So I'm not, even if I ask for even though I asked for an absentee ballot, it was mailed to me.
And then I just
The
decided,
system's going to stop us.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And keep us from having duplicate
Yes.
votes.
Right.
And so I can only vote once.
Right. And then they would have to contact the clerk's office, the board, and the clerk together would ask that voter to bring their ballot to us, turn it, the one that was mailed to them, turn it into us, and then we would let them go vote in person. We would cancel their absentee ballot, but
Right.
we would need that in hand in order to do that.
Right. So because we want you want to make sure they
Yeah.
get to vote.
Right.
But we
Yeah.
want to make sure they don't get to vote twice. So
Yeah.
you have to do
Yeah.
one or the other. So if they vote, and they come and bring their ballot to you and they vote, and then you cancel the absentee, it can't be counted.
Right.
Which means that because it's not tied to the ballot, but there's an ID. The ID is the fact that an absentee ballot went out to somebody.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
Can you talk about a little bit about that process about when you walk through the absentee ballots? Because there's a lot of people worry about whether and we're talking about mail-in ballots at this
Right.
point.
Yes. Yes.
Walk through the process of making sure how do you identify it and things like that.
So when the absentee ballots are either mailed back, the mailed ones are either mailed back to us, or we have the drop box that's in the hallway at the
And you just have the
courthouse.
one drop box at
Yes.
your office, basically.
Yes. So they can either drop them off in the drop box or mail them back to us.
Yeah, it's
So then-
sensitive. So
Yeah, it is.
I've had to learn not to fidget when I'm doing it.
Yeah. So when we get the ballots back, and the drop box is checked every afternoon. There's 2 keys to it, and in my staff, it has to be a Republican and a Democrat both, that opens the ballot box at the end of the day. We get out the ballots that were returned that day. They're scanned in as returned. There's the barcode on the outside. They're scanned in as returned, and then they're placed into our ballot box, the metal locked ballot box that has 3 keys, that has 3 locks on it that only the Board of Elections carries those keys.
And there's
I don't
3.
even have one.
Right.
It's the-
Because I remember
yeah.
when we had to go through
Yeah.
the process last year, I had to
Right.
go, pick up the key from
Yeah.
from the Republican
Yes.
representative.
Yes. So yeah.
So that was an interesting.
So then we
I
place
learned a lot
the-
more last year about the
I know,
process.
Yeah. So we place those ballots in the ballot box, as is the same as if they're mailed back to, like if they come in the mail. My election officer, she scans it as returned shows it in our system that it's returned. She puts it in the ballot box, which there's the slot that we have that you can put the ballots in, but you can't get them out without all the board.
It's kind of like a mailbox.
Yeah.
Right? It goes in, but you can't
No.
really fish it back out.
No, not without all three.
Or the
board,
crane
three
machine.
board
It's like the crane machine.
Oh,
Just kidding.
Worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah.
So
I got you.
then now they've changed it over the past couple years or so that within 14 days of the election, the board and the clerk can review the ballots as they like last election. We did review some of them early because there were so many.
Yeah. But that's the board.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. So when we do that, when we review and process the ballots, the absentee ballots, the board together, the three, the sheriff, the Republican representative, and the Democrat representative will unlock the ballot box, remove all the ballots that were returned. We also have our report that from where we've scanned that barcode, we print our report from our system that tells us how many there should be returned. So then we count to make sure that the ballots that are in that ballot box match the number that is in our system that was returned. That's one of the. It's like count. You know that.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems like it would be boring, but really it's not, because each step has got its reason for that. So you're counting it.
Yeah.
And then when you go to count it, you count it again, and then you make sure everything matches all the way through every step. So, it's thorough.
Yeah, it is. So then we match the. So on the voter has to sign the outer envelope, which is our first step of checking to make sure their signature on the outer envelope matches their signature that we have on record in their voter record.
And that process by itself is. You take up the paper, you have the envelope, and you've got their card, or actually it's a picture of the card or something on
where they've
now,
signed
right?
where they've signed it,
and they have
pull
signed,
it up.
and then you're comparing it, and then it's not just one person compares it; it's
everybody
each
has
person in
to
the step
agree. Yeah.
has to agree that those match.
Yeah.
So you have a Republican looking at it, you have a Democrat looking at it, you've got the sheriff looking at it, you've got. Do you look at it? Or,
I do.
Yeah,
I don't think that my opinion is. I mean, my opinion matters, but it's more those three.
I remember it's more of it's more of a discussion of, okay, well, do we? And I don't remember there were maybe one that was even questionable or something.
Yeah.
And it becomes how do you look at this? So it comes down to does that. You all discussed it to say, hey, why do you think it is? Why do you think it's a match? Why not? And really and truly, like I said, it's pretty blatantly clear whether or not it's not or it is or not.
Yeah.
So how many times can you just estimate over the last few years, have you seen one that didn't?
That we rejected, we actually rejected. Well, of course, I've only been doing it for the past 2 elections.
Yeah.
But I think we only had 2 rejections last time. I think that's even
that was a pretty low number. Right.
We had 2 rejections last time. And we do everything we can to, say if there's not a signature match, we, as a board, we can contact the voter, do what we can to get them to come in and cure their signature. Maybe they, are.
Well, let's take we're going to take a quick break for a commercial here, and let's come back and let's talk about how do we do the curing process and the steps, because I know it was in depth. So let's take a break real quick.
Okay.
Guided by a strong work ethic, devoted to family, and a state senator getting things done. Steve Meredith, he's working for us. A no-nonsense conservative, Steve cuts through the bull in Frankfurt. 100% pro-life and pro-Second Amendment, Steve Meredith is protecting our values. He's fighting inflation by cutting income taxes, putting money back in our pocket. And Steve supports our veterans. He has their back in Frankfurt. Believe in Steve. Vote Steve Meredith for State Senate.
This is Thomas Ballinger. I humbly ask for your vote May 21st as your next Kentucky State Senator. I will work tirelessly towards securing funding for the 5th District public utilities and roads. Without strong utilities, corporations will not invest in our communities. I am pro Second Amendment, no red flags. I will fight to protect and improve the teachers' pay and retirement and hold the Department of Education to a higher standard with legislation. Our children are our future. As a veteran, I will fight for better VA benefits and stronger legislation to protect us. I'm against abortion with no exceptions. If elected senator, I will provide legislation that makes sense. I'm for less regulation, less government control, and more freedom for the citizens of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. As your next senator, I will represent you, not the special interest groups. It will be an honor to represent you in Frankfort. This is Thomas Ballinger. I approve this message.
Paid for by Thomas Ballinger for Senate.
Your vote matters. Go to the polls May 21st.
Guided by a strong work ethic, devoted to family, and a state senator getting things done. Steve Meredith, he's working for us. A no-nonsense conservative, Steve cuts through the bull in Frankfort. 100% pro-life and pro-Second Amendment, Steve Meredith is protecting our values. He's fighting inflation by cutting income taxes, putting money back in our pocket. And Steve supports our veterans. He has their back in Frankfort. Believe in Steve. Vote Steve Meredith for State Senate.
Okay.
All right, we're back. I appreciate the patience of everybody. We are back. Had to get those commercial breaks out. And you can go, Mark. Take us away. We've got Susan Masterson back in studio.
Yeah.
And the echo. I'm working on it.
When we went to break, Susan, we were talking about you had just started talking about the curing of a ballot. So when curing is when something is wrong with a mail-in ballot, our process allows us to contact the ballot issue or the person, the voter. Thank you.
Yeah.
And that person can then come and in person fix their ballot, whether it's a signature issue or what have you. So why don't you take us through that process a little bit? How in the depths that you all go to try to make sure that everybody gets a vote.
Right. That's what we want. Is you want every vote to count and give everybody the chance. So if we say there's an agreement that the signature doesn't match on the outside of the envelope to their voter record, I contact the voter, ask them to come in to sign. They'll sign the outside of their envelope again, and we'll verify their signature. Well, of course, obviously they're in person and they're signing it in front of us. So we're like, because we want their vote to count, and we do contact them if we don't get a hold of them or they choose not to come in. They may say, "No, I'm not gonna do that. Just throw it out," and
Yeah, I mean, so like you said that. Now the state allows us to have up to like 14 days prior to start that process.
Yes.
And that, I guess, that probably helps gives you a little more time to try to contact or, especially if somebody was planning on being out of town the week of election. So if you got a hold of them a week or so earlier, that allows you to. So, so what, I remember last year there were a couple that, you all were going through every chance, everything you could think of to try to get a hold of the person in person,
and we did have them. We did have one come in. The one that she came in and she cured her signature and her vote counted.
Yeah, good.
And I had one this week. We started the review of the ballots, the board.
Now that's a review, not a count.
No,
right?
just a review. We were just doing the review of the signatures.
It's the admin piece of it, right?
Yeah.
Did they sign it? Did they have it? Is it valid? Is it in our system?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we started to do that so that we don't have so much to do on election day, but also that we have time to get in touch with the voter to get in, because they have to come in before 6 o'clock. On election day to cure their signature. And so I did have one, and she was, very pleasant, came in, cured her signature, her vote counted.
I would hope you'd be pleasant, right? Because I'm trying to make sure make sure that it counts, right? And that's all it's your goal. It doesn't matter if it's Republican or Democrat or what have you. These are our neighbors that we're talking about.
Yeah.
And I don't know how they look at it in other counties and things, but in Meade County, our neighbors are important to us, and we want to make sure that their voices are heard. Whether, like I said, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, it's important that that we stand up for one another.
Right.
So
correct. Yes. So, but yeah, that's the main process of it is getting the verifying signatures, and then of course once that's done, and we do the actual processing is when we open the envelopes, count. You're going to count your inner envelopes, your outer envelopes, your flaps, and everything again and again and again.
What do you think? What do you think the turnout's going to be? What do you think the turnout's going to be?
I don't know. I saw Secretary of State on the news last night, and he predicted 15%.
We've been back and forth about it. Yeah,
I said if we got even close to 20%, we would be. It would be.
So we did the debate the other night. It's been well publicized. Somebody said, well, I didn't even know about it. And I said, okay, well, you got the messenger, you got the radio station, you got the internet. It's on all of those platforms, and you don't know about it. So I don't know how else to tell you that this is happening. I honestly feel like people are just so disgusted with politics that they don't care.
Maybe avoid it more than
but they don't like what they see on TV, and but they don't participate at the local level. So.
The other thing that doesn't help us is that one, all the Republicans have dropped out except for Donald Trump.
Sure.
So I mean, yes, they're on the ballot. But there's other names on the ballot. So they're like, oh well, Donald Trump's going to be our president for the. I'm speaking for the Republicans.
Sure,
obviously,
I got it.
The Democratic side has the same issue because pretty much it's just Joe Biden. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't come out and vote, right? And show the support. So come out and vote for Donald Trump, right? Make a showing for him to show how much. How excited you're going to be to vote for him in November.
Yeah.
And you know what? Beyond that, it allows people to see that people care about these things early. The more we care about them early, the earlier we care about them, then people will, it'll get more people excited about maybe even running for an office.
Right.
Right now we have, on the Republican side, we have the state Senate seat. We have two candidates that are going, that are vying for that seat. And it's going to be a shame to know that only 15% of the people are going to come out. 15% of Republicans are only going to come out and
for the district for this one section
to choose the candidate.
Well, speaking of getting involved, we got a couple of dates that are coming up you need to pay attention to. The state delegation is happening.
Our state convention is tomorrow. The Republican state convention is tomorrow. It's in Somerset, Kentucky. Any Republican is actually welcome to go to that. It's at the Center for Economic Development in Somerset. It's a $25 fee because we have to help pay for the location, the convention, and things. But it's $25 per person. We expect to have a full delegation from Meade County down there.
Absolutely.
We have 6 delegates that will go there, and we will cast our votes for our delegates to go to
the national.
To the RNC. So we're looking to try to get someone from Meade County. Our goal is to get somebody from Meade County in that group and to actually go and vote on the floor of the Republican National Convention. So that's our goal, and we're pushing for that.
So Monday, if you'd like to get involved, the Republican Party meeting is held on Monday.
Yep.
From the messenger standpoint, I am working with the Democratic Party. I've reached out to their party chair to work with them so I can give you some updates on the Democratic Party and what they've got going on from their party. So I try to, from my standpoint, I'm trying to keep it a neutral base so that everybody's informed here at the messenger. But they do have 2 candidates in the Democratic race. I encourage you. Our county clerk is here today for a reason, and she's here to let you know that the polls are open. And while they only predict 15%, that's across the total voter population. So that's Democrats and Republicans. So I encourage you to get out and vote, guys. Let's break a record. Let's show them that Meade County represents.
Let's at least get above the 15%.
Yeah, really, that would be nice.
And I just want to say thank you, Susan, for coming out
Thank you
today.
all.
I appreciate
Thank you
your role, and congratulations on such a great result from your inspection of the
Thank you.
state. And we know that we've got a legitimate voting process in place in Meade County, and
That's
it's
right.
evident
Yes.
by the results of the investigation.
And we
So-
applaud you and your staff for putting on an excellent election. One last thing I'd like to point out is if you go out and vote, right? Whether you vote today or not, it still costs the Commonwealth the same amount of money. We said to put the same people in place and make it
Yeah.
available to everyone.
Right.
So let's not make it a waste of our money. Go out and vote. Make your voice heard in each and every election. It's the only way you can make change. And with that, we'll see you on next time.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan.
You all.
Guys, all take care.